Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NASA. Of course, very good tournament here today. Week 7 of NASA, we're going to have Chikara Chatting playing out against Doggo.Dog. I'm AJ Cannon. I am joined over here by the fabulous Cloak Oak. What do you think that we're going to get going into this pick ban of the maps and such?
Well, it looks like we already have some of their pick bans laid out in front of us. We'll be headed to Atlas Lab by the looks of things for our first match here. Definitely a favorite of both of these teams. So I'm not at all surprised that we saw it in the map pool, but it was picked by Doggo.Dog for this first match. As far as character picks and bans, I mean, something that I'm looking forward to seeing just in general throughout this series is Reset's Drakkar. I hope we get to see more of it because with the recent Drakkar buffs, Reset was already absolutely terrifying on the character, as going to be even more scary now, but it looks like we will not be seeing any Drakkar shenanigans today. Instead, we'll be looking at a Kai Estelle X for the side of Chikara Chatting and Dubu Juno Kazan for the side of Doggo.Dog. So pretty standard comps for these players at the very least, but on Atlas Lab, all sorts of things can happen. Black Hole already broken right off the bat, and who knows what's to come as the core flies at terrifying speeds due to this team player start that we have.
Yeah, and it's one of the interesting things here is that we have two team players for the side of Chikara Chatting, which means that they're going to be moving the core a little bit faster, but because Doggo.Dog went for the double reverb, they're going to have a few more abilities to throw out, so we might even see a little bit of a KO versus control type thing going on here. Despite the fact that it is Juno Kazan who are generally, own barrier there from Big E. Very unfortunate there, but it happens. But because it's the Juno Kazan, it's not generally a KO comp. You might see a little bit of that, especially on Atlab, where the Black Hole can do a lot of the work for you.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I would even say that it's not entirely accurate to say that two team players from Chatting will necessarily give them more core speed, because Juno and Kazan are famous for sending the core at stupid fast rates that no one likes to deal with. But it is Chatting that take the early lead here with that first point, and it's only now that Switch manages to hit that level 2, so Kazan now unlocking the other half of his kit. Switch is now actually a player in this game, and the favor could very easily swing towards Doggo.Dog in this second point.
Yeah, Switch being able to switch those forms is indeed pretty big there. But so far, Reset not looking too cowed by that. A lot of damage on that Kazan, just going to throw out the Aimi wave there, one of the new emotes that you can pick up. Good defense here by Maloom, getting it into the corner there, where Carmine is able to get a little bit forward. Great core flip there after Switch, just keeps putting on the pressure. The slimes are almost good enough, but again, Maloom is really good. Switch, though, able to get it through there in the end, though. Really nice pickup on that barrier.
Yeah, certainly. I will say one interesting thing about the initial gear picks here is that Bloom has opted for eject button Estelle. It's a gear pick that I haven't seen as much of lately. It seems like a lot of Estelle goalies have been opting for strike shot. So definitely eject button, a little bit of a callback to the earlier days of Estelle goalie, but it's not going to save him here. No blinks, no cooldowns in the bag to stop Switch from striking it into the bottom corner there and tying up the set.
Yeah, it's one of those things where since the eject button nerf really with not as much cooldown reduction, first barrier going down there actually really nice. And the second one going down with a great primary from the Kazan. Carmine fighting back with one barrier though, pretty nice. But with the strike shot allows you to have a lot more presence further down the field without having to go forward. But eject button lets you do things like that, where you get a little more leniency to be able to play around things. So you end up having strike shot being a much more aggressive goalie gear, and usually on those open map sets that you want. But we see a kill into a power play. Really nice work there from the side of Dog, completely ignoring the Estelle goalie. They're kind of going around her. Great defense by Maloom earlier on, but in the end, the power play just too much.
Yeah, I can't help but think that Reset, as the only forward that hasn't opted for that reverb, is feeling a little lacking in the stagger department right now, and as a result just got hit with one too many abilities. But having said, it is Carmine that finds a revenge KO onto Sloopin right there, and suddenly it's a power play in the favor of Chatting. The bell ringer will finish him off in the back of the goal box.
Yeah, Dog. They came out pretty strong, took the 2 points there, but now we see Chikara Chatting, I should say. Chat just for short. They're actually pulling back in, potentially even taking this first set. And I think it's one of the things we see a lot out of Dog. They're not a bad team by any means, but they just lack that consistency going into the later stages of the games. They tend to have really good starts, but they just can't seem to find the finish. So we're going to see if they can in this, but so far, they're falling off towards the end of the set. Hopefully not towards the end of the game. Reset, unfortunately, own barriering there, but sacrificing one barrier to get to in some sort of Eldritch ritual there kind of works out.
Yeah, and we see Reset feeling once again lowly for the stagger, but Carmine perfectly reads everything that Big Jeep needs to do there to clear the core and is waiting in the receiving arms of that log to clear the set. And as a result, will earn set MVP here. What are we looking at for these drafts here, AJ?
Well, I'm definitely seeing Catalyst being picked up at some point. But X is just going to go right for it. He also had the option of bulk up, cast to last, especially bulk up with the reverb combo is pretty nice. We're going to see Orb Dancer, Dubu on ice going around. We see Kai picking up some stagger, also denying the bulk up reverb combo from his opponents. Really nice to see that. So just a really good pickup there. The explosive entrance on Kazan, also not too bad. He has a lot of impacts and a little bit of dash range. Very rarely hurt people, though it can. And then, of course, we have the Siege Machine on Juno. All right. Some people absolutely hate the projectile range, but some people say it's worth it for that duration and the hitting the core harder. And then, of course, Glass Cannon on goalie. Pretty bis. It's pretty good on that Estelle.
Yeah, even though the Orb pickup did fall to Big Jeep, which is obviously the thing that Dubu wanted out of that draft, I have to say that Chatting came away with that one. I think that the Catalyst pickup it's going to be big on anybody, but especially that X. But more than anything, I think Reset having Stagger is actually a huge improvement because suddenly she can now provide a lot more midfield pressure without having to worry about Switch bullying as much. Mm-hmm. And as the core flip comes online for Carmine, that Catalyst is already doing its work and grabbing them an early barrier advantage here. Chatting are looking quite strong going into the second set.
Yeah, quite strong. Good black hole dribble there, but it's intercepted by Switch, and even Maloom playing up, trying to secure this goal, but it's a great defense by Jeep, Sloopin, and Switch there. Actually managed to get a barrier on the return there, but now it's in Carmine's hands. He tries to go for a bull rush dribble, but misses it, going a little bit too fast to the overtime, but a great pass over to Carmine from Reset is going to send it right in there around Big Jeep, finding a great angle between Dubu and the Juno there.
Yeah, I will say there also seems to be of a geometric advantage revealing itself in this second set. Sloopin is hanging a lot further back to try to help out Big Jeep on defense, but when you're playing with a Kazan and you have another high mobility character like Juno, you really want to be linked up for those passing plays so that you can take advantage of the full length of your character's kits. Whereas Reset and Carmine are just kind of left to play the strengths of their characters. Reset using that speed to effortlessly control the midfield, feeding up to Carmine, who could just bully as this X. I mean, the team comp flow chart is just playing full force in the favor of chatting right now. They're going to have to change up their game, them being Doggo.Dog, if they want to find a comeback here, because currently this game is not falling in their favor.
Yeah, it was a great kill from Carmine. A little bit funny leaving the goal to actually be scored by Reset there. I don't know if that was an intentional play to try and get Reset higher in the pick priority order. But, great. Well done by Carmine there. Good dribble off the corner to the self and up to the top. As a goalie, there's not really a ton you can do there. You're trying to go down to contest it, but when you get just dribbled around like that, I mean, it style points the opponent, but it's also just a good play, and he's rewarded with quick strikes, potentially perfect form as well, of course, renowned on X. So it's going to be interesting to see what the X picks up. There's a lot of good options here, even stacks on stacks for more speed. But he's going to go for the quick strike. That means that Juno gets the stacks on stacks. Kai here, potentially Reptile Remedy for the stagger build. Known hater of it am I, but he is going to pick that up, and it can fit in quite nicely there. We're going to see extra special on the Dubu. Great pickup there. Prime time on the Estelle is also nice. And a perfect form falling to Kazan, though, might just be, with the stacks and the perfect form and the extra special, that might just be what Dog needs to get back in this fight.
Yeah, I do think that the speed and perfect form pickups are quite huge, as well as the extra special on the Dubu, because it does just seem like there's been a lack of anti-stuffing in the face of that X throughout this match. But I mean, it's also going to help them out on offense. Big Jeep doesn't quite get the suit placement that you're hoping for there, but that Tofu Fortress will be coming back plenty soon with the cooldown reduction. I will say, though, Quick Strike Catalyst on that X is a scary thing to deal with. The energy economy is going to be flying off the charts, but Switch SSB manages to catch a nice rebound there, and despite both goals being open, Doggo.Dog will take the first point here. And with those stacks on stacks coming up from behind on Sloopin, they are now in the best position they've had all match to take a set.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have a combo like Reverb in perfect form on that Kazan, there's so many things you can do, but the quick strike with the X-Tech, really done by Carmine there, just able to put so many strikes afield, even though, yeah, the bell ringer's really slow, the bull rush is really telegraphed. If you just have too many strikes, it's hard to get through, but a great roll there from Big Jeep is actually going to clear through that bull rush, so really nicely defended by Big Jeep there.
Yeah, I mean, both of these goalies are playing to their strengths, right? We've seen Loom keeping the core at a distance, actually has to burn the core flip right there as Switch SSB gets a little too close for comfort, but Big Jeep is looking in their prime right now. Switch SSB, on the other hand, looking worse for wear as the pummeling of that X comes into play, but they managed to find an orb and bring themselves to safety. Big Jeep actually was able to wander all the way up to midfield with the help of Orb Dancer and return back. But it's a little too risky to stay up there for too long. Core flips will be coming online here soon for a few forwards, but before that can happen, Reset manages to catch a stray clear, score another goal. Chatting seem to have not lost their touch quite yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as usual, Dog puts up a fight. None of these points, or I say very few of these points, ever really seem super one-sided. But you can really see the difference in sort of the consistency. Dog really seems to have strong moments, but also really low lows. And so, that defense was really good until it wasn't, and they get it through. But they managed to keep a double barrier from going down, so they tied up 1-1. They're still in this, but they're really on thin ice here with the 2-set lead, even though the score is tied for this 1 set individually.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it just comes down to how many times Big Jeep and Sloopin can clear it on defense, and then how well Switch can keep possession on offense, because currently the momentum is just sometimes not staying all the way in their favor. It seems like Loom is getting some really effective clears, and so the ability economy is just always shifting a little bit out of favor of Doggo.Dog, but they're looking quite strong in this point, and that team player will set Switch up to red core perfectly into the bottom. Loom just has too few cooldowns to deal with that, and Doggo.Dog are now in the lead for this set.
Yeah, and importantly, the Estelle hasn't actually gotten much cooldown reduction. You have the eject button, and you have prime time, which can be argued that it does do a little bit of cooldown reduction, because of course it can regenerate the second charge when the first is on cooldown. But Estelle kind of thrives on that cooldown, like you were saying, just having the ability economy to thwart enemies' plans. Great offense there by Carmine and Reset is going to mean that they tie up the score 2-2. Just beautifully done with the quick strikes and everything as well. It's just beautiful team play to see there.
Yeah, I think that when X can get it in the pocket, there really just isn't too much that Big Jeep can do outside of Tofu Fortress, which, of course, that ability as an ultimate is in limited supply. Carmine is just blitzing down the field right now. This could potentially be the final point of the game, as Chatting are now looking to close it out. Switch and Sloopin on the offense, attempting to hold on to it for just a little while longer. Switch close to core flip, but Carmine now back on the offense, punches into the back of the goal box, and the core, along with Big Jeep, will find themselves off of the field and at the end of the match.
Yeah, Carmine is absolutely brilliant with that X-Tech, being able to strike immediately after another strike after using your ultimate, able to hit the core and the goalie into there, and off of that, I believe, with the Catalyst Quick Strike combo, that's when he got that core flip. So, even if somehow miraculously we saw Big Jeep able to defend against the X-Tech, there was a core flip coming in his face half a second later. So really well played, kind of checkmate situation set up there by Chikara Chatting.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the switch in offensive pressure, that might be a poor choice of words there, between these two teams is really evident in the stat line. The core just wasn't getting in the hands of Switch much at all that game. Carmine, on the other hand, had the core more than anybody else, 120 redirects, and getting the majority of the goals for his team. That is some professional X piloting, and with Reset and Maloom at your back, they're sure to make anybody who can play the character that good look like a professional.
Yeah, it's just, I don't want to talk too much on the X, but when you have an X that has the most redirects in the game, that is really just something special. You don't see that all too often. Usually he's one of the lowest in the game. Even great X's that are doing their job and, oaking the goalie or staying in the enemy side of the field, they're usually not getting that many redirects. But Carmine was really able to play that really well, going back and forth when he needed to. We didn't see him only sitting on the other side of the field and playing a really, I always hesitate to, encourage forwards to play back as a goalie player myself. But when Carmine was doing it, it was really intelligently done. He really knew when he had to be back and forward, and he didn't really overstay in those places. And of course, with the support from Maloom and Reset, even when he was playing forward, he could trust his team to get it back to him. So at the end of the day, it's that sort of the knowledge from Carmine to know his positioning to a T, and his team being able to get it to him in whatever position he was in, which is, I think, really the thing that sealed that in the end. Completely agree.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a little scary that was Doggo.Dog's map right there. I mean, I said going into it that I knew that Chatting are also a fan of Atlas Lab, so I'm not at all surprised that they also put quite a good performance out there. But we are now heading to Oni Village, which was Chatting's pick for this series. AJ, what do you see changing about the comps or the game plans from these teams going into this next match?
Well, looking at the comps, I would say that these comps aren't necessarily all that bad for Oni Village on either side. Of course, on the side of Doggo.Dog, you have that Dubu goalie, pretty much a staple goalie on almost any map. Oni Village is no exception. He can really hold it down really well in that corner for a really long time. And then you have the Juno to interface in the midfield, and the Kazan as a forward is really good on Oni Village because he can hook it around when that goalie is trying to defend in that corner. On the other side, though, I mean, Estelle and Kai are some of the absolute best picks on that map. So if we see Chikara Chatting get something like that again, they could definitely go for it. The X, I would say, is more questionable in Oni Village, but even then, especially with how Carmine's been showing to play it with the slick kicks and able to reposition, we could definitely see that coming again. But that's really, if the teams go for their same comps again, but I think we might see that Estelle coming to a little bit more of a higher priority on Oni Village. So we might see that switch hands, but I think it's definitely getting played since it's not being banned there. We see, of course, the cast to last and the 1-2 punch, meaning that Juliet and Octavia pretty much synonymous with those awakenings at this point. I see cast to last and I think of Octavia. You can think of Era as well and a couple others, but I'm immediately on Octavia there. So I think that's a great ban coming out of Red Team dog there.
Yeah, and I'm not at all surprised to see Chatting pick up the Rasmus there. That is almost certainly falling to Carmine in the brawler position. But we do see Kai and Estelle picked up in return for Doggo.Dog. Those are pretty big characters to pick up here. Highly sought after, if I had to guess, Kai goalie, Estelle midfield, and then we'll be seeing a Zentaro brawler. So, I mean, all around, pretty staple, except that I see a Kazan for the side of Chatting as well. Are we about to see a Kazan goalie come out for Maloom? What are we seeing here? What am I looking at?
I mean, especially with the 1-2 punch, you can really get a lot done in that closed form Kazan. I believe, I could be mistaken on this, but I believe if you take pauldrons on Kazan and you're in your closed form, then your crooked leverage, which is that the hook, into strike, gets the 1-2 buff and instantly red cores it from the beginning of the game, no overtime necessary. I could be wrong on that, but that is, I believe that is how that works. So we could see the Kazan goalie. Aimi goalie, I actually don't like it as much on this map, but you can see it around. It is definitely not a bad goalie, especially with the cast to last. You can have a lot of forward pressure on that ultimate, so you can play up, use the ultimate, and have a lot of forward pressure for longer than you normally would. I know this probably isn't going to happen, but my heart wants it to be Zentaro goalie on the side of Dog. It's probably going to be the Estelle goalie, maybe even the Kai, because with that cast to last, you can really run forward really nicely. We might see like a Mom Boots Kai type scenario. But my heart wants it to be that Zen goalie.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that we're looking at Aimi and Estelle as our midfielders, Zentaro and Rasmus as the brawlers, which really just leaves Kazan as the goalie. We're about to see some Maloom lore, evidently. Liari is in the chat saying that evidently there's some lore, maybe eject button Kazan. Something that I haven't seen outside of the early days of Kazan goalie when people were like, oh, cooldown reduction. So who knows? We might see a new chapter forged here today as Maloom does indeed hover that Kazan goalie. It does look like we're about to have a show on our hands.
Yeah, and we do see it's going to be the Kazan goalie. We're still technically on the air. We're still technically up in the air about that Zentaro goalie, but it's not going to be. I'm just chatting. But it is Chikara chatting, so I mean, that's what I'm here for.
It's awfully appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, it is going to be switch lucky, and that it is going to be the Mom Boots Kai that I predicted. And it actually is that eject button Kazan. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the pauldrons to give you the size, to give you the power, but I mean, evidently Maloom is quite practiced on that eject button with that amazing tech. Of course, eject button with the kickoffs on Oni Village, being able to get one of the two barriers pretty easily is pretty strong. It's one of the reasons why I actually really like Zentaro goalie on this map. But evidently Maloom is quite practiced on the eject button, so we're going to see what he can pull out here.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of people that are quite practiced on their picks, Switch SSB and Sloopin, to my knowledge, these are their most comfortable picks. Maybe Sloopin favors the Juno a little bit more, but I mean, it's not going to save Switch SSB's life. That was a startling dump of abilities from, I believe, all three members of Chatting, followed up by a really good sequence of team play on the power play. Yeah, Chatting are coming out of this game looking quite strong.
Yeah, and you know, we saw Maloom make that decision there to go for the kill on the Zentaro rather than defending the barrier. And that's something that sometimes goalies, especially like Kazan and other similar brawler goalies, have to make. But I think there was absolutely the right call. You kill the Zentaro, kill their forward momentum, and then they're able to get the entire point off that power play. Also, Maloom playing super far up there with that eject button. Of course, that is, again, the benefit of eject button is that it allows you to play forward and sort of be in two positions at once and break that law of physics, because you're basically where you are and also where your eject button teleport back is, so you can choose to be in either place at once. Great hook there, but the Zentaro ult, not enough, even with the Zentaro passive afterwards. Reset misses the core flip there, unfortunately, so we're going to see it stall in the corner here, but they still have that one barrier lead for now, as long as Maloom can stay alive. Core flip going to be sent up to the top for sort of a self-dribble there, but it's intercepted. But that's going to be Maloom going down, but it doesn't matter. Carmine takes the core flip into goal.
Yeah, it's very strange. It almost looks like Maloom is using a lot of these eject buttons as just improved strike shots. Because you get to dash forward, and then you get to strike, right? You're not at the behest of a projectile that's going to strike for you. And then you also have your ults to combo with it. So it kind of looks like he's using it just as like a better version of strike shot, which is something that I've never seen before. And I mean, Kazan having 2 of those secondaries in his kit, it is working in their favor right now as another power play is found by Reset and Carmine on the other side of the field.
Yeah, and we might even be approaching more kills on Oni Village than on Atlab, which is always wild to see, because Oni Village usually regarded as one of the least KO maps in the game. So really funny to see that. We're going to see a hook coming out of Carmine. Not enough. Big Jeep is really solid on this defense. You're really picking it up, especially with that cast to last speed. It lasts so long that he's able to keep this corner with the great IME ult there, the Firewall Sentry. Maloom able to switch over to Primate there. Great knowledge of the kit there. Knowing that he has that ability up even when it's not in the form to see that, so the switch primary is really great there. In the pass from Carmine to Reset, not enough to get it through. Great barrage from Big Jeep, gets it over to Switch, gets it up to Maloom, and just really nice tech there. Sorry, not Maloom, Sloopin.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this whole match is kind of just a show off of tech. Carmine is getting so flashy with these hook plays, and I mean, we're seeing kills come out left and right. Doggo.dog is showing off their mastery of their characters as well. It's kind of just a back and forth of, like, flashiness the whole way through. And we do see Size Rapid Fire on the board here. Size is going to fall to Carmine. I don't think that Maloom is in any way disappointed, though, because Rapid Fire is on the board here. That CDR on both secondary and primary for Kazan is going to be unreal in terms of its value. Definitely seems like this draft was won over by chatting, but I will say Switch now has the potential to fight back with that heavy impact pickup, and Big Jeep's Giga Blasts are going to be nothing to sneeze at it either from Missile Prop. So it could be that we start to see more KOs come out from Doggo.dog in addition to the ones that chatting have already been putting on the board.
Yeah, we also see Sloopin with that reverb getting the more cooldown reduction, but it's not really factoring in just yet. We see that Chikara chatting is really able to get a lot of pressure here, even in the face of the extra cooldown reduction, extra damage. And they'll just send it right in there. Well done by the entirety of Chikara chatting, just putting up so much pressure so consistently. I think the core wasn't even on the side of Chikara chatting that entire point.
Yeah, no, the midfield control is far and wide in favor of chatting here. It seems like Reset is winning almost every single interaction that comes her way, and then anytime it floats back to Maloom, it's not even a problem. That Kazan always has cooldowns up and is in no shortage of tools to dispatch any potential threats. That being said, Switch says, you know what, I have more strikes than you do, and the Zentaro ult into passive is going to be one too many strikes for Maloom to deal with. Now the barriers are open for chatting.
Yeah, we have the 2 core flips available for the side of Dog. That 1 core flip after a great find by Carmine there. Zentaro just a little bit too close to that edge, and he's going to be found out.
Yeah, this is very, very unfortunate for Doggo.dog. It is exactly what you predicted from game 1, where it's just little breaths of hope here, and then just one small mistake, and it's immediately capitalized on by chatting. But even just some small tweaks in what Doggo.dog are doing right now could very easily win them an advantage here. It's just those little mistakes. They need to start recognizing chattings and capitalizing on theirs. I'm sure that we've already seen Switch capitalize on the weaknesses of Kazan goalie. As long as they can set up more of those opportunities, they are not going to have problems putting up a fight in this match. It's just a matter of whether they can put themselves in the position to even have those opportunities.
Yeah, and I think, Doggo.dog definitely not bad players, but they have some moments where they make a few too many mistakes, and at this level of play, every single mistake you make will be capitalized on. That's one of the things that a lot of high level players are really good at, is seeing those opportunities from those mistakes and actually, making use of them. So we see, great core flip though from Sloopin, not able to get it though with Maloon just patiently waiting it out. But yeah, the players at this level are just so good at finding little mistakes, capitalizing on them, and it can seem like such a mountain to get around if you just can't stop making those mistakes. And of course, nobody's perfect, everyone will make mistakes, but it just seems like the positioning from Doggo.Dog just allows for things like that to happen, where it's a 1v1 with Carmine and Big Jeep, and you never want to see that as a goalie or on your team, just the enemy forward in front of your goalie there with their full kit available.
Yeah, and if the drafts keep falling in favor of chatting, there's a very decent chance that they could snowball to the end here. It's a very, very sad thing to see Switch at the back of this draft with Perfect Form and Stinger on the table. Two Awakenings that can make such a huge difference, but in a strange set of drafts, we actually see Deadeye Rasmus come out. It could proc on the primary now with that big fish size. And so Carmine can get some more edge kills, but that does mean that Switch ends up with Perfect Form, and along with Heavy Impact, this Zentaro is now a threat to society. The Switch could very easily just single-handedly turn this whole thing around. Reset's health bar already torn to shreds here, forced to evade Sloopin's piercing shot, and for once, again, Doggo.Dog, a little glimmer of hope. Let's see if they can keep it burning a little longer than before.
Yeah, and we're going to see a kill onto the Aimi there. Great power play opportunity, but the hook countered by Barrage, really nicely done by Big Jeep there, but they just can't get it through Maloon just yet. Rasmus is kind of playing this midfield position now, intercepting everything that gets close. The Giga Blast, I think the Deadeye was actually a really nice pickup on the Rasmus there to keep that Giga from being even more powerful. Because otherwise that would be red coring basically instantly every single time. And now we see Reset back, able to defend here. Maloon playing super far up, a little bit low on health, trying to get out of the goalie box where that Zentaro is. And we're going to see both goals open up now. We're going to see Carmine sitting there in front, Maloon actually sort of playing the midfield while Reset hangs back. Switch dribbling along the bottom though, has an opportunity here. The red core's up to Sloop, and the Crystal Thorns is great! And that's going to be Doggo.Dog. That's going to be Dog on the board with 1 point here.
Yeah, they, like, the fact that Kazan has no survivability awakenings now means that Switch can just Oki the crap out of Maloon. And it's not going to do much if their barriers fall that quickly. That was a really efficient offense by Carmine and Reset. But if Switch can, like, have his team get him enough pressure from the back, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to take down Reset and Maloon alike. And if the player advantage falls into the hands of Dog enough, it could give them a set, maybe allow them to come back on this match. And Big Jeep is defending right now, but manages to get intercepted by Carmine just one too many times. That strike cooldown is not back quite yet.
Yeah, and it's so difficult to deal with this Slick Kicks Big Fish Rasmus in your face the whole entire time. It's so tough to get it around him because that combo of movement, speed, and size, when he's already hit the core once, is just so difficult. But we're going to see it again, Carmine just able to be in that position, and Reset and Maloon just consistently finding the angles to get it to him, completely around the opposition there. So just nicely played there by Chikara Chatting.
Yeah, and I will say, Switch is not landing a whole lot of Zentaro abilities right now. Maloon actually did a really good job of evading a little onslaught with the open secondary there from Kazan, but the revenge will be found, and Switch with the core flip will finish off Maloon in their own goal box. Now it is a power play in the favor of Dog. Passing plays come out back and forth from Sloopin, and just as the core flip comes online, it's not even needed. The piercing shot will find it. Doggo once again up in this set by a point, and now with the Awakenings to potentially close it out.
Yeah, I gotta say that Perfect Form pickup on Zentaro, of course, everybody knows that Zentaro Perfect Form is really good, but it is really good here. Great kill as well there. Kai going down there a little unfortunately for Dog now in this power play from Chikara Chatting, but the great core flip buys a little bit of time there, but it's not enough. Carmine gets a second barrier and gets it in. The great primary there, tying up the score 2-2 and putting them one away from match or series point even.
Am I mistaken? Was that kill onto Big Jeep a showcase of Deadeye Rasmus? Was that a pendulum swing that finished off Big Jeep? I think it might have been. It was either that or a glitch pop, but either way, barriers are traded very early here, and Switch pins the core in the corner. Not able to land enough abilities to make it go through, and instead it's Big Jeep, once again with no barriers. A scary position as Chatting are once again on match point and series point, but Mloom is staggered. There's a chance to snag a power play, but Carmine catches the core once again. And that'll be the end of the game and the series. Chikara Chatting come away. Eject button Kazan and Deadeye Rasmus. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that we would see such shenanigans come out today?
Yeah, really nicely played there by Chikara Chatting, even with the sort of weird unorthodox picks, but sometimes that's what it takes. We did see a brief moment of hope there with the Zentaro coming out with that perfect form. And it's kind of funny, Zentaro and Kazan are very similar in that way, where they have a lot of abilities and a lot of tools in their kit to deal with just about any situation. So enabling the Zentaro to get that extra cooldown and to get those extra tools online faster was a bit of a blunder, I would even say, from Chikara Chatting. But in the end, they were just better in the end there, without the Deadeye on the Kai to be able to get those red core gigas and really put the pressure on in that regard. We just see Chikara Chatting kind of running away with it. Dog in the end only get 2 points that entire game. And I think it was similar in the last game as well, where Dog just really needs to work on a lot of their team play positioning. They have the fundamentals down. They can play the game, and we see so many fantastic moments. But just the consistency of play from them is a little lacking. And when you're against a team like Chikara Chatting, that really knows their stuff, as we saw here, there's just not really a contest to be had there. Chikara Chatting sweeping it away in fairly dominant fashion.
Yeah, and critically, that does mean that Chikara Chatting, as we near the end of this preseason and are prepping for playoffs, they are in a much better position to contend for those top playoff spots, searching to be in that top 4. And I'm sure that they are glad to come away with another victory, set themselves up for the closing weeks.
Yeah. It'll be really nice to see how they progress through this. And as we go through it's the last couple weeks of the season really do just come down to the wire of so many different teams vying for so many different spaces. But we are going to see a little bit more of that later with PASS versus DRGN a little bit later. So stick around, but we're going to go to a short break.
Hello, we are back again with NASA week 7 of season 4, coming back with Dragon Bite versus I've already forgotten their name.
Pass.
Bad at my job. Pass. There we go. AJ's got my back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dragon Bite versus Pass. Dragon Bite, as we were discussing briefly before coming on air, facing a slim, very, very slim, but a possible shot at playoffs if they can win this match. Meanwhile, Pass fighting on the border as well, but certainly winning this game would put them in a good running for one of those top playoff spots potentially. So both of these teams kind of fighting for their own best case outcomes here. And the drafts here on Demon Days are a little fascinating to me. I'm assuming we're about to see Now and Asher Goalie, which are two of the front runners on this map. How do you feel about the matchup between these comps, AJ? Who do you think came out on top in the character draft?
I feel that red team here, actually, Dragon Bite, actually has a pretty nice comp for shoving through. Of course, with Now and Estelle, you have a lot of good midfield control and sort of that ranged control. But when you have Rasmus and Asher and Kai, you have a lot of shove potential. So I think they actually have a decent shot here at getting it through. And we're seeing that right here with Asher able to get the 2 barriers there. And it's going to be difficult to get it through that Rasmus goalie. Of course, Kai, very good on the midfielder. And also Asher, very good as a forward. But whenever they swap as well as, positioning forces them to, I don't think it's going to be the worst thing in the world. But we do see there Greatest Meme taking the double barrier on the other side, and the momentum is switched over to Pass. And that's where Pass is really going to excel. When it's this open field here, with all the goal barriers down, the goal's open, we see Greatest Meme taking a goal there. When it's that open field, that's where the Estelle and the Now really shine. So until that point, when it's the more closed-off map, that's when Dragon Bite has to strike and has to end things. But before that but after that point, it's going to be Pass's game to lose.
Yeah, well, and I think that especially with these starting awakenings here, we can also toss in Zen as that open map beneficiary, because we do have explosive entrance start here, which Tragic and Greatest Meme have both opted for. Certainly huge pickups on them. And I mean, you were saying that you thought that the character draft maybe fell a little bit in favor of Dragon Bite, but Explosive Entrance Centauro is always huge because he gets that big boost of dash distance right off the bat. They've already used it to grab both of the barriers, and Striker Kai is looking worse for wear. We'll have to burn the core flip, but soon with no evade is going to meet his end on the edge there, and suddenly up 2 points. We're looking at Pass coming away with this one quite nicely.
Yeah, really good play by Pass there. Really just going around Dragon Bite. Of course, Dragon Bite is not the easiest team to get through here, but with Estelle and Now, and yeah, that explosive entrance in Taro, it's a lot easier to just go around them. Just say, yeah, whatever, I'll just teleport over here, go around you. Not going to worry about it. But Striker Kai there, taking that first barrier there for Dragon Bite at this point. The early lead is really what Dragon Bite is looking for in these points, and if they can't get that, it's going to be really bad for them. But if they can, that's their chance, and a fairly good one. But great snipe from Tragic there, the piercing shot. Unfortunate angle there from Primal Shack. Doesn't get the barrier, but it is gotten in the end there. The Rasmus hook doesn't hit too much, but it's a great shove, and that's going to be the first point for Dragon Bite here, not going quietly into this one. This is their last chance of ever making it to the playoffs. If they lose here, I don't think there's a mathematically possible way for them to make it. If they win here, they have an uphill climb to make. And that is not the way you start that, with Asher going down into a power play.
Yeah, power play, always unfortunate. But, I mean, we can't talk about these players' starting picks without discussing the magnetized souls popping up for Tragic and Striker Kai in the midfield. That is something, I think the last time that I saw Mag Souls taken as a serious pick was on Borg's Zentaro, back in when that was his big prophetic banner to uphold. But now we're seeing Mag Souls with the resurgence, but we are seeing another power play come out here in favor of Pass, and the goal barriers are open, Assertive, with nothing else but air at their backs.
Yeah, but doing really well in that situation. Great hook onto the Zentaro meant that he was out of position and stunned up, so he couldn't get it through. The primaries are great to shove it through. And now it's kind of making, the core is kind of making laps of the field here. And it's really just which team can take control of those laps and really get it through. And Primal Shack just being out of position fairly consistently there, not able to punish it. And, you know, you can't really blame them too much because they're trying to be open for a pass, and then it goes wide, it goes fast. It's hard to really nail it down, but you see Striker Kai there getting the barrier well. Asher's keeping it busy. The core flip is great, and it's patient. So no Zentaro steal there. Piercing shot goes a little bit wide as well, but it goes in over the top, and that's going to be first set going to Pass.
Yeah. No, I think that was really well played. I'm fascinated by the midfield interplay between Tragic and Striker Kai. It kind of seems like the logic behind this Mag Souls pick here, because it does now give just as much speed as Slick Kicks. Oh, actually, it looks like... Never mind. Almost as much, but for significantly longer. Almost twice as long. And it looks like kind of the logic is, since the core gets rotated a lot behind the barrier on Demon Days, they can keep up with those rotations a lot better by tracing that midfield line. And I saw both of them doing that while on offense. Fascinating draft here. No surprise that the Stagger Awakenings get picked up first, but weirdly enough, the Greatest Meme opts for Extra Special on Zentaro, and Stinger will instead fall to the Mangoes on Now Goalie. Not typically where you would expect those Awakenings to go, especially on this match where Now's Special is typically really high value because of all the damage on Demon Days, and Stinger is one of the best Awakenings for Zentaro if you're looking to deal damage. But, I mean, neither one of these teams seem particularly hellbent on intentionally dealing damage. They're focusing on core control and just accidentally doing it as this match goes on. We are seeing the Greatest Meme and Tragic dishing out plenty and bringing down all the stagger bars of Dragon Bite in this point, but their barriers are open.
Yeah, we actually saw a great pass there, but it was intercepted by a perfect Rose Warp from Tragic. Good core flip as well, comes out, but the angle's a little bit off, goes for another lap around the barrier here. Really weird dribbling there by Assertive, but it gets it around, gets the job done, and that's all you can really ask for in those kinds of tough situations. Good Rose Warp dribble there, and it's just in this bottom corner here, and the question is, can Dragon Bite get it up? But no, it's Pass that gets it out. Primal Shack not able to use the core flip there, uses it now and gets a great angle there, and that's going to be the first point of the set scored by Dragon Bite, coming back in strong.
Yeah, I think that the additional speed for Striker Kai is really helping out in the midfield. Being able to match up with that Estelle quite a bit better, just because Kai can so easily recover from the few times that Tragic manages to get it past. It looks like the clears are happening a lot faster. Assertive is feeling a lot more comfortable. And the barriers are staying up a lot more for Dragon Bite. They are taking heavy hits though. Pass is dealing a lot of damage this set with those new pickups, and it could spell disaster for them, but for now, Dragon Biter looking strong, grabbing another barrier advantage.
Yeah, sort of going for the top clear there, but now teleporting forward as well. Going to stop that, but that's a great kill and a power play. Zentaro's down. Can they make use of it? The barrage goes a little bit low. Great up clear there by Mangoes. Good hook to keep tempo there from Assertive, keeping it forward. Giga's good into past. Primal Shack puts it in. Really nice play there by Assertive. To hook the core instead of waiting for the bounce, conserving abilities, which is usually what you want to do as goalie, but finding the time there to keep tempo, keep momentum, make sure that the core is always going forward in that power play, leading to that great sequence of events there.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about Assertive actually opting for momentum boots on this map, which is very rare for any goalie because you typically get hit a lot on Demon Days, so you don't really get the full benefit. As we see right there, the Greatest Meme actually intentionally using that Zentaro primary just to slow down Assertive a little more on that kickoff. But yeah, usually you go for Pauldrons to reduce damage, you get size on that Rasmus goalie, but Assertive going for that unconventional pick doesn't seem to be doing them any favors this particular point, as their barriers do fall. But it is a fascinating pick to see. All sorts of unconventional drafts in this match.
Yeah, and it's been working out a few times here as he's able to play up a little bit more. Core flip is great and just sends it in. That's a 3-0 sweep for Dragon Bite, which after that first set, I don't think anyone was really expecting, but beautifully found there. Striker Kai with the level 7, just really high level there at this stage of the game. Highest in the game, in fact, even above the enemy midfield. Tragic there. And going to be rewarded with Catalyst, Quick Strike, Perfect Form, Hot Shot, Orb Ponder, even Prime Time. So many good things, but it's going to be the Monu Deny against Now. You hate to see it, but you also love to see the thought. You, of course, don't want that Now getting them on you. It would be way too much to deal with, way too brutal. So it is going to be a deny, even in the face of so much Biss. Which means that we're going to see Now with the Catalyst, Zentaro getting heavy impact, and Estelle getting Prime Time. Really good stuff. And then, of course, Prime Time on the Rasmus, not too bad. And, of course, Quick Strikes on Asher is pretty good. So no one walked away aside from Kai feeling bad about that one. But Kai kind of has to begrudgingly take the Monu away.
Yeah, I mean, it is so strange that Now is kind of the one character that consistently... her best item in the game, Monumentalist, is something that anybody has to take, even though the majority of the cast, I believe, the majority of characters in this game don't even benefit from the Awakening, at least not heavily. And, I mean, Now she just uses it so well. So definitely a strong deny, but Mangoes is more than happy to settle for Catalyst in that draft. And it's serving them well right now. The offensive pressure has been in the favor of Pass for this entire point. Dragon Bite managed to clear it once, but it's immediately back on their side, and there are 3 core flips online for Pass. They are seeing no shortage of strength in this early point.
Yeah, but it's going to be swept away. The momentum just swinging and kept this time by Dragon Bite, really seeming to find their stride. Really nice to see that. Sometimes you see them falter a little bit, but it seems that first point was kind of a fluke, and now they've really locked it in, so I'm excited to see how they pull this off. Great counter-strike there as well. Primal Shack really finding it through that Zentaro passive, which can be difficult to find the timing on. And they get the first barrier. Second barrier as well goes down to a great strike from Striker Kai. Corf going to be used by the Estelle to clear it out, but Assertive with the primary is really nice on it. Zentaro ult stopped and core flipped away, but the Now primary there is going to send it for another loop around. Primal Shack in front of the goal there, and just barely doesn't get it. The Asher ult as well, not enough. It's back on the other side of the map. Can they get this barrier? No. Pass not able to get. The Giga's good, but Primal Shack was a little bit too far up and out of position there, so it's not going to go in quite yet. But I say that, and immediately it goes in. Caster cursed it.
Yeah, that Caster Curse is a doozy. And yeah, Primal Shack, Striker Kai suddenly with this additional speed picked up in that first draft, it has served him so well. And I mean, the flowchart here is, of course, you want to get it up in the face of that Asher. And this is one of the maps that Asher really tends to excel, because the core is almost always in a cramped space on offense, and Asher's just so good at locking down an entire lane and stuffing it through the goalie when it can get up in her face. So Primal Shack putting up some really good moves when the core is in their control. But just as I say that, the greatest meme in Tragic on the other side of the field throw down some moves of their own, and both barriers are open.
Yeah, the Giga was nice to get it past Tragic, but of course Tragic still had that strike available. Arrow's going to send it to the top, but Assertive is there. That's a kill flip and a power play from Tragic. Can they get it done, though, is the question. Not just yet. Piercing Shot was a little bit too late there. Not getting the perfect angle. Primal Shack able to clear it out by a little bit more time. 3 seconds until Striker Kai is back on this field. And he's back on now. The power play has ended, but it's still on their side of the field. They have to clear it now. The Rose Warp keeps it over. Primal Shack dribble along the bottom into the Sound Waves. Striker Kai going for it, but he gets it over back to Assertive. Can he clear it for it? The Piercing Shot says no. The Strike says no. Assertive tries to get the Primal Shack, but there's an arrow in the way as well. The Zentaro, no. Not enough. The Zentaro passive is up now. Potential for a lot there, but it's used up at the top. The ult is good. The core flip, counter flip failed from Assertive, and the Strike just goes right in. Good Crystal Thorns by Estelle.
Yeah, that was some fantastic patience there from Greatest Meme and Tragic, waiting out until Assertive was actually locked in the pendulum swing animation right there. There wasn't too much that they could do as the core flew on through them. Really well played, but they are still a point behind in this set. Dragon Bite are looking really strong, and another one kickoff is going to see a lot of their enemies' cooldowns burned, and Pass is also a barrier down here.
Yeah, it's been great seeing these early barriers. That's what Dragon Bite needs. They find it again. The double barrier is so clean. They're able to keep the momentum forward, but now it's swung over the other way. And, you know, I've been talking about it a lot. Ooh, the risky clear behind doesn't work, and that's a double barrier taken for the side of Pass. But there is at least the 1-point lead. It's tied up now, so it's not a set to pass just yet. But now all of that leeway that they used to have is now gone. Dragonbite coming out phenomenally at first, but not able to keep it for too long. Pass potentially looking to take it back. They're going to start off on this setting, but not quite up. There it goes, and Striker Kai finds the setup from Shaq, sends it into that first barrier. The piercing shot just hits Assertive, not the core there, not getting it first barrier, but it is there. The core flip goes right up to the top. Great angle by Tragic there, but followed up by Primal Shaq, who also has the core. So does Striker Kai. It's going to just one from Striker Kai is enough to send it in. And now we see Dragonbite with a 1-set lead, and going into this as well, they're going to get the advantage on the Awakening draft, and we might see some really nice things coming out. We're about to see. We're going to see that there is an Orb Dancer available for that Kai. Stacks on stacks as well. Even Chrono Boost as well, a little bit more reliable in the face of a KO comp. Of course, if you die, you lose the stacks on the Dancer. Going to go for the Reptile Remedy. Really nice addition to that Reverb peak performance. A little bit more stagger, and especially on Kai. I think one of the better people to pick up Reptile Remedy. Again, I am a hater of Reptile Remedy in general, but I think here it's a really nice pickup there. But it does mean we see Estelle getting Rapid Fire and Zintaro getting stacks on stacks. But that does mean Size, Big Fish on Asher, now denying the Rasmus the Size going Might of the Colossus herself. It also buffs her power nicely. But that also means that this really speedy Rasmus, who has Mom Boots and Twin Drive, is now going to get Chrono Boost, and I think Assertive is going to be able to be a lot more assertive on that front line, be able to play up a lot more, and we're seeing it right now.
Yeah, I'm a little baffled that Orb Dancer floated through that draft. This is, in my opinion, like, Orb Dancer is already one of the best Awakenings in the game, if not the best. And I think that on this map in particular, you get a little bit of a buff from Orb Dancer because orbs are so highly contested on a map where so much damage comes out. And so being able to kind of multitask the healing that you already want to do on this map, and then you're just getting like a free stupid amount of speed from it, it's a really valuable pickup, but no one opted for it. Instead, we have those stacks on stacks, which can easily be snatched away, and speed from other sources like Chrono Boost on the Rasmus. Both of these barriers are open, though. Primal Shack looking worse for wear, but it's not going to stop the pass. Ironically enough, Dragonbite passing against pass to snag the first point of this set, and potentially setting them up to close it out, as they only need one more to win this match.
Yeah, was a really nice angle there found by Striker Kai, and of course Primal Shack, you only need 1 HP to score a goal. In fact, in this game, you don't even need any. You can be completely shattered and staggered almost off the map and still manage to do it. In fact, you can even get a post-mortem if you really want to. So Primal Shack standing his ground there in the enemy side of the map there. We see a core flip coming out there, and it's really nicely followed up. The greatest meme, just good patience and setup there to ensure that that goes down. You have a lot of patience in that kind of situation. And again, Primal Shack very low here, and this time it's his own goal that's open, so he's a little less leeway there. Gonna go for the orb. The Crystal Thorns is not enough, but the Zintaro ult is. And we're going to see a power play here. It's on the side of Pass to be the aggressor in this situation and to be able to get it in. They're just not able to do it just yet. Assertive able to use that secondary really nicely. The hook as well, repositioning the greatest meme out of the way. And that's going to mean that power play is dissolved, but it's still a lot of momentum in the hands of Pass.
Yeah, I was a little questioning the Striker Kai Reptile Remedy pickup until I saw how much damage that Pass are putting out at this point. There is so much coming out from them. I mean, we saw them take down Primal Shack, who has almost 2,400 stagger to his name. So yeah, definitely the Reptile Remedy pickup is putting in its work, as Striker Kai is touching the ball almost more than anyone else on the board besides maybe Tragic. And speaking of Tragic, keep an eye on this man. I noticed... Oh, wow, what a play from Greatest Meme. The double dash comes out, and even against a core flip Rasmus, manages to get it through. Yeah, well played there from Pass. No, but Tragic managed to pick up Primetime Rapid Fire in that last draft. And this Estelle is pretty much always within primary range as she's running along that midfield line with those Mag Souls. And so these primaries are coming out faster than ever, and Tragic is always in a position to use them, and always in a position to kill. Greatest Meme and Tragic managed to combo both of the forwards off the board from Dragonbite, and a brief moment of double power play comes out.
Yeah, was a great kill flip there, but Assertive really able to defend that nicely, only loses one barrier in the double power play. Insane to see that. Solid defense and not enough aggression and momentum from the side of Pass. And I think with all these kills coming out, double barrier goes down really nicely. This chaotic nature of the game, I think, is why that Orb Dancer wasn't picked up in the end, because you don't really know who's going to die. It could be you, it could be the opponent, but it's just not reliable enough to secure that Orb Dancer, which takes so long to stack up. And that's actually going to be Primal Shack sending it in there to bring them up 1 point away from the match point. Or at the match point, 1 point away from the match victory.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic position for Dragonbite to be in. I'm honestly a little baffled that the only level 9 player is assertive, because, I mean, they've had to put in a lot of work here to defend against this Zentaro-Estelle duo from Tragic, but maybe it's because the KOs haven't been falling to them, and Striker Kai has been doing so much in the midfield, but it's going to be a big uphill battle here. The core flip comes out here from Tragic. Piercing shot into A-Rush will secure it. We're tied up again.
Yeah, a beautiful team setup there. Tragic and Greatest Meme able to really lock it in that corner. And I think another part of the calculation there is just the saves on Demon Dice can be a little weird for counting sometimes. So things that you might expect to be a save. Great kill as well. Power play here for Dragonbite. Hold that. Double barrier. Can it go down? It will. They have the power play. They are 1 point away from this. The core for Primal Shack, but it's not enough. The primary is enough. Well done by Dragonbite here, taking the first game very convincingly here in the 3-1 sets here. After a very rocky first set, Pass really dominated them in that one, but they got the awakenings they needed. They locked in, and again, this is potentially them on their way to get that playoff spot. Again, if you are cheering for Dragonbite, it is a mountain to climb. They have to win each of their other games, and they also have to trust and hope that other teams lose their games to get them into that very contended, most likely 6th position of the playoffs. It's going to be close for them, but they're trying it. They're getting close to it with this.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the redirects count here. If anybody was doubting the Mag Souls pickup, the 2 highest redirectors in the lobby are Tragic and Striker Kai. It was surprisingly effective. Like, once I saw the way that they were using it to catch rotations and just, like, maintain offensive pressure, I understood why, like, specifically on this map, these players opted for that pick. I definitely, like, I might be yapping, I might be chatting a little bit here. I see a world where, at the very least on Demon Days, we see core control comps going for Mag Souls on their midfielders. It was that valuable. Striker Kai had 241 redirects that match, and it was because they were just consistently sending the core back on offense all the time. Primal Shack didn't even have to touch the core that many times. Only 84 redirects that match. But because they had that Kai putting in all the work on the backline for them, it allowed Primal Shack to shine with just Asher shenanigans up front. If you have an Asher in your face, you can do almost anything. Or rather, whoever has the Asher in their face can't do anything. So, yeah, no, just well played all around from Dragonbite, and fascinating use of the Mag Souls from the midfielders in that match.
Yeah, I also was quite surprised by that Mag Souls pickup, but yeah, it absolutely worked out well. And I think part of it is that, you can never be sure where the core is quite going to go on some of these clears. It could go, top side, bottom side, behind. You never really know. So having that reliability of the Mag Souls that every time you cross that midfield, you're going to get that speed boost is really nice. And of course, sometimes the momentum swings in this game back and forth a lot really quickly. And we saw that several times in this match where, especially off the power plays, one team would get a kill and then it zooms across to the other side of the map, and then you have to get to the other side of the map. So you cross the midfield line to get it, and then your teammate respawns, you're able to clear it out, and then back to the other side, very back and forth. But the one thing that I'm a little worried about for Dragonbite is Demon Dice was their pick. They went to this with a plan. They locked in, I would say, a very good comp for the map. That Asher, Kai, Rasmus combo really played it to its strengths. They really were able to lock that down. But going over to the next map is going to be Night Market with Pass. Now, of course, Night Market being one of the big 3 is a very practiced map. Dragonbite by no means will be completely caught off guard by this. But at the same time, it's going to be on Pass now that has the plan, has some sort of vision for this. And The one thing against that, though, is that that same comp that we just saw Dragonbite play, I can imagine being quite good on Night Market as well. You have Erasmus Goalie, who is a little unorthodox there, but has a really nice tech where you can hook it from one side to the other. So you can really play those lanes really strongly with them. The primary as well can be used for great clears, and Asher forward is also really amazing to just lock it in those corners in a similar fashion to Demon Dice. And of course, Kaya, one of the best midfielders in the game right now. So he is equally amazing there. So it'll be interesting to see how the teams play through this pick ban and how those shift, and especially with the Awakenings when we get to see those. But I am slightly worried for Dragonbite going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you should say that, because I do agree with you. I think that their comp could be really, really strong here. Like, even just the comp that they ran right then, but like these players have other characters that are also going to be really strong on Night Market. I think there's a decent chance, though, depending on, I'm not sure who won pick priority for this match in particular, but I know that the Greatest Meme does also have an Asher in the back pocket, and I could see a world where we potentially get an Asher Estelle forward duo for Tragic and the Greatest Meme, and that is, in my opinion, one of the best offensive duos that you can have on Night Market, and it could be an incredibly strong duo because it would not only deny some of the best picks that we just saw Dragonbite shine on, but also give them a good control of the map. And if I'm not mistaken, we do have our starting Awakenings on the board here. Explosive Entrance and Stacks on Stacks. Does that shake up any of the predictions we've made so far, AJ?
I mean, I'm definitely expecting a Zentaro coming out, or at least a ban. I'm not total.
Perfect timing.
Immediate ban. The other thing is Vice, of course, very strong with that Explosive Entrance as well. I don't know too much about the champ pools of these players and if anyone really has a Vice on their pocket pick, but she can be an absolute demon on Night Market.
Pun intended?
A little bit, yeah. And so seeing her be able to... and there we go, the Vice ban coming out from Dragonbite. They don't want to deal with it.
Man, you read that perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, and there's the Kai with Stacks on Stacks. It's just really good on him. Now, there is a world where he takes the Explosive Entrance to build for his secondary speed and for the Giga Blast as well. It was recently buffed, so the extra damage is even better now. So we might see him go the Explosive Entrance if we see blue team, which is pass, lock in for a kill comp. We might see that coming out. And we also might see it coming out vice versa if we see red team Dragonbite go for a kill comp, because if you're a Kai with 0 stagger bar on Stacks and Stacks and you get killed all the time, that's going to be a little sad with the pancakes. So going to be interesting to see if one of the teams locks in a kill comp, which is quite likely on Night Market. We might see him opt for that Explosive Entrance over the Stacks on Stacks, despite it being so good on him. But I think definitely Asher takes the Stacks on Stacks here. Of course, she does have an impact in that barrier beam, and she does have a dash to increase the dash range of, but I think the consistency of pancakes and the ability to just reposition quickly, more consistently, is better on Asher in general than that Explosive Entrance. And of course, I think Stacks goes the way of Atlas. He gets literally 0 use of that Explosive Entrance. He has no impacts, and he also has no dash, blink, etc. So I'm definitely going to see that coming out from him. And that's actually a really good pick for him. He might even go Mom Boots, and we see sort of Sorening going on where he runs very far forward to really put on the pressure. Unless it's an Atlas forward, which can happen. Very rare, but it can.
Yeah, I think that Atlas is a really good pickup with the Stacks start here, because like, unless we see Pass go like very hard into damage, which I'm not expecting him to, they should only be killing occasionally. And having an Atlas on your team is big against those teams that kill just some of the time, right? His ult can't really do much against a kill comp, because as soon as his ult is burned, you're just going to get staggered again. It's all over, right? But if you're just getting killed some of the time, and normally that would be a big problem because you'd be resetting your Stacks on Stacks, Atlas is a great solution to that problem, and it could provide them the upper hand here, because they are going to be able to retain those Stacks a lot more consistently than Pass, presumably.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is also, having this second pick, the red team. Dragonbite actually gets to pick the Octavia there. They get to see the entire comp of the opponent. They get to see this isn't really a kill comp. It can be a kill comp. They can play to it. Again, if we see everyone take that explosive entrance, Drakkar, Rasmus, and Kai will do a fair bit of damage. But I think you're right. It'll be inconsistent enough that with that Atlas, they'll be able to keep the Octavia healthy and alive long enough to really make use of the stacks and her flow state. So there is, that's the benefit of the second team. A lot of people are like, oh, blue team is the best. You get that first pick, you get to contend those really powerful characters like the Kai here. But on the flip side, that second pick, that red team does have the benefit here. They get to lock in the next two picks. They get to lock in that Asher Atlas, very strong picks on this map. And then they also get to lock in that Octavia after seeing that, hey, there is actually an angle there. I think if Juliet gets picked there, or if they don't ban away that Vice, I don't think you get to see that Octavia because they go full kill comp and it's just hopeless for you. You will just get murdered on Octavia, which is, of course, there are two ways to counter Octavia. Hit it away from her and kill her. A player at this level probably isn't just going to let it get hit away from her, and if she also has someone to back her up and pass it to her, it's a lot harder to hit it around the Octavia. So a lot of the times these top teams have to go for the kill option. So being able to see that they can't go for that as effectively is really nice there.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense to me with that logic that Striker Kai is the only player here to have opted for explosive entrance. There's going to be, I say, consistent benefit. It's benefit as long as flow state is up, right? But, I mean, when you get an Octavia player this good, they can keep that flow state up for disturbingly long periods of time. But yeah, definitely with Octavia having such a low stagger pool, having the consistent benefit on your secondary of more speed, it's going to be a pretty nice buff. Everyone else in the match opting for stacks, so everybody else is praying they do not get KO'd. Except maybe Primal Shack, who has that Atlas at their back.
Yeah, and that is just a really nice way to... We see that Striker Kai is very low here. We actually see the Atlas being procced a little bit early, so there is a kill angle here on this Octavia. But it is nicely defended so far, able to pick up the health pack, and is able to dodge away before getting that last bit of stagger to be able to not be shattered. So we see the pass coming up to the top here, and we see this super speedy Mom Boot stacks on stacks Atlas, able to play super far up. The primary misses from Greatest Meme there, and the barrier still able to survive here. Goes for a down through the hook, misses, but it's actually really nicely done, set up by Mangoes up to Greatest Meme through the hook, and that's going to be an open goal here for Dragon Bite. They're trying to get around this Drakkar Rasmus, but of course, when you're against three characters that can play that midfield angle, Drakkar, Rasmus, and Kai all, it's really hard to get it around. It is possible, but it is not easy. But now they have the momentum here, and they're able to maybe get the second barrier. Primal Shack finding a good angle there. Coreflip whiffs from Octavia, though, and now it's two open goals.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, because last match you were talking about how Dragon Bite wanted to win quickly. They wanted to get early barriers, get early sets. They had the advantage in the early game. Now it seems like that script has flipped. Pass have characters that are right off the bat very, very strong here and don't need a bunch of scaling awakenings and late set awakenings to make their characters work. On the other hand, we have Octavia and Asher, who, in my opinion, do best when they have these very strong builds that are, built up over the course of a game. It kind of looks like Dragon Bite are playing the long game here, whereas this Drakkar and Rasmus comp have the potential to sweep this early game if Pass plays it right.
Yeah, speaking of playing it right, Primal Shack there with a beautiful combo there. Is in the end foiled, but manages to get it right through Tragic there with a beautiful combo of abilities, and almost got it through Mangoes as well. The Yield Blast actually goes a little bit wide there as well. We're going to see the Cork go up back to this top right corner. It really likes to settle on the corners on a lot of these maps. Core Flip actually forced out there by a great combo by Primal Shack. Mango's good core flip, though, on that. Knew that he had to use it, used it quickly, didn't hesitate. And so the core is just going to stall, go for a few more laps. Great Octavia primary sends it over, but Primal Shack as well. I feel like Primal Shack here, one of his weaknesses is that he tends to be out of position a lot. And it's hard to call the positioning on these forwards. The core is moving around so quickly, going for so many things. Octavia dies there. That's another positioning calculation to take into account. But you see that a lot of the times Primal Shack is just barely out of the position that he needs to be in. But I'm hoping that Stacks on Stacks is able to remedy that for him. But we're going to see a second goal scored first by Pass. able to really come out strong in these first sets. We saw it last time as well. They really come into the game swinging. Dragon Bite, a little bit faltering here. Even after the heels of a win, they are actually losing this first set here. So it's not the mental momentum. It's just Pass having a really good early game.
Yeah, I will say Primal Shack, to your point of having some positioning problems, I'm not going to pin those all on Primal Shack. Striker Kai is getting staggered a lot here, and when you don't have a midfield at your back, it's hard to run that offense all on your own, even as an Asher with stacks on stacks up. But Primal Shack, Striker Kai is behind him this go round, and the two of them together are far stronger and are able to get those barriers down. And suddenly, it is the barrier advantage falling to Dragon Bite once more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a very comfortable position to be in when you are up a barrier, but immediately goes down, and now it's a little less comfortable. We do see Striker Kai has the core flip. We see Primal Shack able to get it closer to the goal, but not in just yet. Core flip is good, and it's great after Primal Shack gets his hands on it. And that's the kind of thing that you love to see. We see Primal Shack in the right position there, right in front of the goal, ready to receive it. We see Striker Kai getting the incredible angle to bounce off the top. And that's the recipe that you're looking for. If you ever run an Asher comp or a similar comp with like an X, you look to have your brawler in the face of the goalie, doing things like that, able to just checkmate the goalie with their abilities, able to get it right through them like they're not even there. And then you're looking to have Octavia not die so that she can pass it to you forward. But it's a great clear, a lot of time bought by Assertive there and by Primal Shack. It's a lot of committing abilities, and you know you're not going to get the goal, but as long as the core stays away, you can be very comfortable. The core is great, and it gets one barrier, but they need to get that second one in order to actually score this goal. And so far, Primal Shack gets it stolen away from Tragic right then there. And we see Striker Kai passing it forward, though, again, great manipulation of the core by both teams, though.
Yeah, it's interesting that both of these teams in the early game seem very core control oriented, but it almost seems like Pass is able to just kind of accidentally deal damage to Dragon Bite. Like, Primal Shack has been on the border of being staggered for this entire point, just because every single time that Tragic is clearing it through him, hitting him with a shotgun. But it's not going to keep up for too long. Eventually, the passing plays from Shack and Striker Kai will get through, and they'll tie up the set. Dragon Bite, despite my initial prediction that they were going to lose this first set, are now looking like they may be able to bring it back.
Yeah, and I do love a good underdog story, and of course here, Dragon Bite, the underdog, they have their shot at the playoffs, though. They can make it very closely. They have to play well, though, and they're really locking it in. We even see a core flip wasted from Tragic there, stun onto the Asher, maybe trying to go for a kill flip, which is a little too far, but we see that barrier falling. We see that even though the score is tied, we see that there's the barrier lead from Pass. That means they're a lot more confident, a lot more able to play up. We see Mangoes running up almost to midfield there, able to put a little bit more pressure on. Molten Bolt is good, slows down the Octavia and the core there. We see the Atlas ult really nice as well, leading to a kill on the Rasmus as well. Striker Kai just so enabled by that ultimate, knowing that even if he gets too close to the edge for that kill, it's not going to end in a death for him, but only the opponent. The power play, though, not really much done. Rasmus respawns now, no barriers taken. We see Assertive playing up a little bit more. Primal Shack finally gets the core, but there's two people in front of him. He has to get through both Meme and Mangoes. The M and M combo there. And Mangoes just absolutely solid defense there, even as overtime red core. Great core flip there, though. The long shot, though, not going to catch Mangoes off guard. He's playing so far up here. He has the core. He's trying to use it on the enemy side of the map. Striker Kai also very low here, looking to not die. Use the ult defensively there to bounce back the Drakkar, and that's going to be another barrier going down here. Pass has the opportunity to score here, has both their barriers. The Giga, though, not able to get the kill. The barriers, they're staying alive. Great core flip counter from Primal Shack with that ultimate. Beautifully done. You'll love to see it on the Asher. Now it's one barrier taken and a little bit more momentum available for the side of Dragon Bite. But there it goes. Another power play. Octavia dying again. And this is why you don't take the stacks on Octavia in this, because it basically doubles your lose condition. And that's going to be a score by Pass there. Going into this, they're going to have the lead here with potentially a lot of really good things on the Awakening draft in this first one. But yeah, with the Octavia, one of Octavia's lose conditions is dying with your flow state stacks. So
I'd say that a lot of people's lose conditions are dying. It usually doesn't do particularly good for your win condition to die.
Well, yeah, but it's more on Octavia because she is able to hog the ball. You can't really get it around her because a lot of people have multiple lose conditions. You get it around them, you kill them, you get it through them. Octavia's main one is killing her. You can try
Yeah,
to get
for
around her,
sure.
but again, players at this level with the speed won't really be able to get around her. And with a good goalie backing you up, it's hard. Especially when they pick up team player. They're a great pickup by the Atlas. So killing Octavia becomes the easiest way to neutralize her. And so you're going to see teams trying to kill Octavia more often. So if you take the stacks on stacks, not only are you dying once, you're also losing all your stacks. And if you know the enemy's going for that kind of play, it becomes a lot more risky to go for that. And that's one barrier going down there, though, for the side of Dragonbite, but they come back with one barrier of their own.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised at all with the way that draft goes if we see Striker Kai being hit a lot more. Lots of cooldown reduction, and that missile prop picked up by Tragic means that they are going to be hitting Striker Kai quite a bit more frequently. But Striker Kai does have that twin drive now. One of the prized possessions of Octavia, if I'm not mistaken, allows you to recharge a charge of your secondary while you have flow state up, which is like a huge buff to the character, especially if you're keeping the secondary up for long strings of time, which Striker Kai so far has been struggling to do, but that can turn on a dime with Octavia.
Yeah, you see great combo there, Tragic and Mangoes. Mangoes able to play so far up, being enabled by this barrier advantage, because you know that if in a worst case scenario the core gets past you, it's just going to take one barrier and the goal opens. It's not going to be a point. So able to put so much extra aggression on that is really nice to see him taking advantage of that. Going to use the core flip there, but it's countered by Shaq, and we're starting to see Shaq again fall into this. Ooh, nice lineup. It was a bit awkward for a second there with a kind of a weird vertical dribble off the Asher ult. But it worked out in the end. Primal Shaq has this core available, but it's going to be countered by Giga Blast. Doesn't get to use it there to set anything up. Now we're going to see dribble into top and core flip into not goal. Tragic there with defense as well. And that's one of the big things here is Tragic is able to play so far back and just play it so nicely.
Yeah, there was a lot of ability sacrifice there from Dragonbite to keep that flow state alive for Striker Kai and get it up to Primal Shack, but the defense from Mangoes was just too effective, and Tragic as well, to get it away. But as you can see right here, Striker Kai immediately has that flow state back up, that twin drive putting in a lot of work, and as the path splitter comes out, Mangoes is pinned against the wall, and there's nothing you can do against that.
Yeah, and we now see that Asher is actually the first in the game to hit those 150 stacks on stacks, so she has the speed advantage. Although, technically Mangoes is still slightly faster with the mom boots as well, but the slick kicks and the stacks on Asher mean she's so difficult to go around. Also has that unstoppable, meaning that it's just that much harder to KO her, harder to stagger it through here, because a lot of the times you get it through an Asher, if you ever get it through an Asher, it's by stunning her so she can't use her abilities. Harder to do when there's no hit stun available on that unstoppable. Great defense by Assertive there with the secondary as well. That Cosmic Expanse able to do so much work. Striker Kai just zooming around the field with the flow state. It does end there, but it does get one barrier. But we see Greatest Meme getting one barrier, wasting the core flip a little bit of a whiff there, unfortunately. And then that Atlas ult used for safety. I think also to potentially try and give the core flip to Primal Shack there with a little bit of energy, but it wasn't quite enough when Primal Shack was over there. We're going to see this momentum, though, heavily favoring Dragonbite in the second half of this.
Yeah, I think that Dragonbite, as long as Striker Kai is staying alive, which he's struggling to do right now, has the far and wide advantage. It does, to your point, it seems like the win condition is making sure that Striker Kai can't play the game. And just like that, as soon as Striker Kai couldn't stand where he wanted to, was pushed out of the way by the onslaught of abilities, they managed to score, and there wasn't anything Assertive could do to keep the core out of the net. So it's just a matter of time. If the points go a little too long against this Octavia that doesn't have any survivability awakenings, there's just not too much that Dragonbite can do for long after that.
Yeah, good Giga as well from Mangoes to keep it forward, but it's not quite enough just yet, but it allows Tragic to get up there. And that's one of the big things here is Tragic is able to play super far back because his team is able to buy those little moments of time. The Path Splitter is good, but not enough. There's no Octavia on the bottom there to actually receive it. Primal Shack doesn't have that support that he needs to really get it through. And that's one of the big things is it's very difficult to solo a goalie. It is possible there. We saw Primal Shack. We actually see Octavia dying again. In the midst of the power play, we saw a barrier going down 4-pass as they were getting the kill, as they were committing the abilities. And so it's really a trade-off. You lose the barrier to get the power play, and you get a barrier from the power play. So it ends up being kind of a 1-for-1 there. And because Octavia doesn't have stacks to lose, it kind of ends up being a little bit neutral there for both teams. But of course, neutral is great for pass. They're ahead of point. They have a little bit more leeway there. Primal Shack buying a little bit of time there, trying to get Striker Kai get to position, but it's red core, it's overtime, it's moving so fast. Core flip comes out of assertive, but it's counter flipped by Mangoes there on the other side of the map, and it again stalls out, goes for another loop here, another vertical dribble here. Primal Shack forces to send it upwards in kind of a neutral position that you can't really do too much with it from there. And we see Assertive playing super far up now, trying to get a little bit more forward, but is kind of hesitant to get too far forward there. Great primary, but it's not enough. Shack sending it a little bit too high, so it bounces down out of the goal, and that's a setup into the Greatest Meme scoring a goal there, and that's 2 sets, 2 pass, and I think an incredible advantage there. But the thing is, if Dragonbite can get some more survivability on this Octavia, depending on where she is in the pick order, if she gets Catalyst, if she gets even peak performance, she gets something that she wants to be able to survive here, can even go V-Glass Cannon, can even go that Orb Dancer. Really nice stuff.
Yeah, I think that maybe this peak performance could bring it back, because Striker Kai just needs to hang on a little bit better. Because something else that I noticed in that last point is that there was a consistent advantage in the ability economy in favor of Pass, because they had the speed gate way more than Dragonbite ever did, and a lot of that was because Striker Kai couldn't get into the mix. When you have to sit back, kind of play your life a little bit, a lot of times you'll sit around the speed gate to do that, but when you're playing against a Rasmus and a Drakkar, which can both very easily pull you out of position or shotgun you out of position, you don't get as many opportunities to contest that speed gate. As a result, Pass were looking quite strong there, but in a strange turn of events, we see the momentum shift in favor of Dragonbite now. They swiftly grab both barriers, and Striker Kai is the one ruling the midfield and controlling that speed gate now.
Yeah, great setup there by Shack. Doesn't get the core, but does get the goalie. Power play opportunity here. Will they make advantage of it? That is the question. Striker Kai passing it up. I would have loved to see a core flip coming out of Striker Kai here just to keep the momentum, because it's 3 seconds before Mangoes is back, and that's the end of the power play right there. They do at least keep the barrier advantage. They don't lose anything from the power play, but they kind of stalled the momentum. It is enough in the end. Primal Shack able to get it in after the pass from Striker Kai there. So Striker Kai not using the core flip ended up being a good decision, able to preserve that all-important cooldown, but was a little bit of a risky play, a little bit of a gamble that you can get it done after the play is over. And you're going to actually use the core flip there. Doesn't get much done with it, unfortunately. So we're going to see Primal Shack actually now the target of a lot of offense there. Striker Kai, though, the one to die. After a little bit of unfortunate positioning means he's too close to the edge. Greatest Meme there, getting a barrier there, sitting right on top of it, and the second as well. That's 2 barriers down, and it's Pass looking to potentially take a point here, but a great hook onto the core flip from Shack, enough to shut that down for a second, but the primary from Asher is, of course, very tough to beat. And we're going to see Greatest Meme staggered a little bit, but not too much, and that's going to be a point scored by the Aerials, Drakkar. The shotgun bolts just going so much further and so surprising off of that.
Yeah, I mean, Missile Prop is just, it's been so valuable for Tragic this game, because it's been one of the main things that damage boost to shut down Striker Kai. But as we saw right there, it also enables additional barrier and goal scoring potentials. Just such a huge buff to the character's sphere of influence that really allows him to get at it. But I mean, if we want to talk about players that are at no shortage of sphere of influence, Striker Kai has been really stepping it up this match. Isn't rewarded for it this set. Instead, Greatest Meme has just had so much support from the back line. Is doing a really good job of putting these goals in and grabbing barriers. But there is still a chance. As Pass are on set point, there's a chance that Dragonbite can make the comeback here. They are a game up, though, and it is looking like there's a decent chance we'll be heading to a game 3 if Pass closes it out here.
Yeah, and that game 3 would be on Tycho, so it is a little exciting. Always nice to see that. We see a lot of core flips being held here. Tragic almost has one as well. But Primal Shack says, I don't need no core flip, just scores a goal. Really well done there. Uses that secondary to get through that first barrier with the strike reset, and then just sort of cruises it in after there. Beautiful Asher play there, and the potential for Dragonbite to start coming back and start scaling. Which, if they get this next goal, that would be really huge for them, and I think we would start to see a decline on Passu. You know, we were talking about earlier, kind of had a more early game comp there. But they're going to trade 1 barrier for 1 barrier.
Yeah, this is still in the hot spot for Pass. This is where they want to close it out. I mean, obviously, because it would win them the game, right? And that power play is going to put them quite a few steps closer to it. They grab the barrier. Mangoes has a core flip on the back line, is actually going to push up to play third forward, and Meme, with a series of ping-pongs, will find it. That is a victory for Pass. We'll be going to Game 3 on Tycho.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there. Assertive went down expecting the pass down to the Drakkar, and so Meme just puts it in there, seeing the Atlas go down just a little bit too early there. Tough position to be in there. If you stay up, it is 100% to pass down to the Drakkar there. Bit just hard to handle in that power play without a midfielder. Primal Shack falling back, trying to do what he can to get it through there, or to get it away from there, I should say. But in the end, really nicely played by both teams. But we see in the end there that Pass is able to take that 3-0 sweep. They're not letting Dragon get back in this game. It was very close. Dragon Bite was just a couple of good moments, a couple slightly better plays away from winning that one and taking a very convincing set two there, or set into potentially a game. And I feel like this also hurts them in the long run a little bit as well, because when it comes to those tiebreakers, I believe one of them is the number of games that you've dropped against opponents. So this will potentially hurt their chances getting to playoffs, although even to talk about that is a long shot, because they have to win every single game from now on, essentially.
Yeah. Not out of the question, and they have one more game today to prove themselves. On Tycho, this is a match where I think it's critical that Asher is a pick ban. This is probably her favorite map in the game, and just shines no matter what. You can do so much with the character on Tycho, because she can very easily play pockets. She can very easily play for stuns. I mean, you pretty much name any of the play styles that she's capable of executing, and this is where she's going to excel at them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Asher anywhere on the pick ban line simultaneously. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see Tragic whip out the Drakkar again. Did quite a bit of cookery on it that last game, and certainly Tycho is another one of the maps where the character seems to shine. Is there anything else that you're expecting to see here, AJ?
I mean, it really does depend on the Awakenings. That decides a lot of the pick ban here, especially when there are characters like now. So if you see that Mon you start, she's going to feature in that, usually the ban phase, not the pick phase. But that really does change the math on a lot of things. But I do agree that Drakkar really cooked on Tragic. But you can also see Estelle can be pretty good being able to teleport around, so we might see that picked as well. I think Rasmus is a great pick on this map in a lot of ways, so we might see Greatest Meme pulling that out again. We might even see a run back. I feel like even though there are some weaknesses to the comp of Pass on Tycho, having the mobility and midfield control of that sort of ranged comp with the Drakkar, the Kai, and the Rasmus to brawl it in, I feel like there are a lot of strengths to that comp as well. But of course, we also do see, I believe this was, I guess with the pick order, it can always be a little up in the air. I was going to try and make a statement on that, but it's always possible the team opts for red team when they can choose blue team, and vice versa. So they did indeed opt for red, I do hear.
Wow.
And so that's going to be Pass on red side, Dragon on blue side. And we're going to see that it is actually Quick Strikes and Orb Dancer. I actually think Octavia is a bit of a trap on this one, because with all the bouncers on this map, it's not too good to play the Octavia on this one. And I think one of the things that we're actually probably going to see here is a Kai ban out of Pass. Because if I am on Dragon, I am looking to get Striker Kai. It's in the name. He wants to play it. He was really good on it on that first game. And he wasn't bad on that Octavia, but I would say pretty definitively he was better on the Kai even. So I feel like that's going to be pick number one out of Dragon if they can get their hands on it. We do see the X-Band coming out. He's really good with quick strikes, even Orb Dancer as well. It's a little bit of a weird one. But a fast X that you cannot escape is so difficult to deal with. But interestingly enough, it's actually going to be that Asher pick. You were talking about it earlier with the Kai ban there. So kind of as we predicted there, Kai being banned out so that the enemy doesn't get it, that means they have the option to pick Asher, which I think is kind of a draft checkmate from the side of Dragon there. being able to pick either Asher or Kai, so you have to ban one of them. They get something that they want. And Primal Shack being able to play one character throughout the entire series is really good for him. That means by this point, he's very warmed up on it. He's very practiced on it. And we saw earlier, he was already really practiced on it. So being able to have that consistency in that same character means that you don't have to adjust playstyles as much. You can play a very similar comp, a very similar style. And that can really be huge going into this game 3 where, a lot of people settle into those comfort picks. And speaking of the Octavia trap, we actually do see Octavia picked up here by Pass. We also see the Mako as well, so it's going to be a very fast Octavia. And that could be Mako forward, but I'm probably going to say that it is most likely going to be in the goalie position there. And we could see likely a brawler coming out of Pass, but it's also possible that they flex it. Because you can play it in both positions. So if, for instance, they lock in a Rasmus here, does Dragon, and, they don't really want to play something else as a brawler, they could switch that Mako to a brawler. But we do see the Estelle coming out here for Dragon Bite this time, as opposed to Pass. So we're going to get to see Striker Kai on the Estelle there, with the Kai band, of course, and the Octavia stolen away. We actually see the Drakkar coming out as well. That'll likely be the... Actually, it might actually be the Asher goalie here. There's a couple ways that this could break down. We could go with the Asher goalie. We could even go Estelle goalie, Drakkar goalie. They can all kind of fill that role. So it'll be interesting to see what they go for. But it's pretty handedly. Again, you can see Atlas forward. Taiko Temple is especially one of the maps that it's better on because it funnels people towards the edges. But it's likely
either Atlas or Mako forward. So we're going to see something funky here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like the Mako has some better forward options, especially with that ensnare drums. So I feel like it might actually be the Mako goalie in the end there, flexed up to forward with the Octavia there as well to offer some midfield support. If the core ever goes past you on that Mako, you can throw up your secondary to boost the Octavia to get wherever she needs to go. And, if it ever gets in the corner, of course, the corner is a big part of Taiko Temple. The ensnare drum is just so good there. You throw that down there, then you move down to cover it yourself. You have your secondary, your primary, quick strike as well, probably going to be picked up there. Just absolutely phenomenal potential from that Mako. But of course, Mako and Octavia, fairly squishy, so it falls down to the Atlas to really keep them from getting brawled out of them. And of course, with Asher and Drakkar, and even Estelle as well, with a little bit of damage, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that, and especially with that Drakkar on goalie. Whenever you're trying to go for those plays, Drakkar shotguns the core. Well, what's right next to the core? The forward. So they're pretty much always going to get hit by that too.
Yeah, something that I'm going to be fascinated by here is who opts for quick strikes and who opts for Orb Dancer. And it actually looks like no one is going for Orb Dancer here. Mm-hmm. If anything, I would have thought that maybe some of the goalies and then maybe Shaq or Meme as those brawlers would opt for some speed. But it looks like everybody wants to be striking quickly. And you will get your wish there, AJ. We do get to see the greatest meme on Mako forward. Definitely an unconventional pick, but I think that Mako has been proven to be a viable forward pick, and this is certainly one of the maps where she shines because she can very easily control those pockets, and a lot of the times just has more strikes than the enemy to claim barriers.
Yeah. We see a great dodge there by Assertive, able to get through the ensnare drums. We see a lot of damage coming down onto Pass. They are able to get that first barrier. Good dribble from Greatest Meme, but it's not enough just yet. We see Mango's playing super up, has the core flip, gonna use it, but it's deflected down to the bottom, and that's a barrier scored. Assertive with a really nice bounce off the bottom there. Rosewarp is not enough. Strike is enough to keep it in that top corner. We're gonna see Octavia, Tragic, passing it along, tries to get to Mango's, has it, the core flip is used, the shotgun fails, and that's gonna be a strike in there. Really nicely done by Greatest Meme with checkmate.
Yeah, that's a surprising outcome for the point. If I was looking at these comps on paper, I'd think Asher Estelle in a heartbeat is going to be the one to keep up the pressure and eventually score the point. But instead, it seemed... wow, Greatest Meme actually managed to even take out Primal Shack right there with the Mako primary. And there's no shortage of pressure coming out here for Pass. They're grabbing barriers, uses the core flip in front of the net. Tragic and Meme are putting up an impressive display of offensive prowess here.
Yeah, and another part of that is Octavia and Mako are great forwards as long as they can stay alive. We saw in the last game that Octavia was just having trouble staying alive because of the damage coming out from the opposite team. And the same thing or similar applies to Mako. She's really good at brawling, but if you can brawl her back, she can end up falling a little bit. She doesn't have the most stagger in the game. Even a level up on Atlas, still lower stagger than him. Same thing on that Asher. So fairly low stagger bar from what you might expect, and that's just going to be Asher taking the first goal there. Dragonbite getting a little bit better in these first points, but Pass is still really good at this early play. It seems that every single time Pass comes out swinging, they're really good at those starting moments of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this kickoff game just seems so nice. Immediately forcing Striker Kai to rotate the core down. And then, I mean, they're having to do so many risky back passes and stuff. It's only a matter of time before Meme and Tragic manage to find the crack in it. And they're grabbing kills as well. Primal Shack has not been staying alive. Like, this is not just some, like, core control menaces that we're witnessing from Tragic and Meme, but also consistently putting, like, damage out. There goes Assertive off the board as well. These guys are unstoppable in this first set.
Yeah, but that Rose Warp was really nice. Keeps it alive. We have Drakark spawning, but it's a little bit too late. He's on the field right as it goes in. Tragic to see as Tragic scores with the Greatest Meme. And Greatest Meme, I think a well-deserved MVP there. Picked up so many kills when the Primal Shack just went a little bit too close to the edge. Really great there. Is rewarded with Catalyst, Stacks, Missile Prop. Even Aerial's Deny on the Estelle that's a little weaker. Gonna go for the Catalyst, of course. Very good. More core flips, more damage even. You just use that, just blow it to just hit the opponents. Don't even care about hitting the core with it. Leave that to the Octavia midfield. And just go full brawler even. But that does mean we see that, very interestingly enough, what am I saying? Chrono Boost denied from Octavia. I was like, why did Estelle not pick Aerials? It's really good on her. Because there's Chrono Boost and you don't want Octavia getting that. So that's gonna be Octavia, though, getting stacks on stacks. We're going to see Atlas picking up team player. That's a really amazing draft for Pass. But we also see Chrono Boost, although, you know, Estelle doesn't really have many buffs to use with it. We do see that it's still dash range, which is really nice on her. We see that Primal Shack potentially with that ad rush cooldown reduction and potentially speed as well. Really nice if they can get kills. And of course, Missile Prop on Drakkar, we saw it last game, was really good. So neither team really losing the draft here. And especially if Dragonbite can get some kills going, I would say there's a really good draft for them if they can kill that Octavia and really make use of that, but it's going to be a bit of a risky one.
Yeah, I actually think that I think that Pass's drafting kind of is anticipating that they are not going to have enough pressure on Tragic to secure a kill on Octavia. I think that Tragic is feeling pretty safe, and so they picked up that stacks pickup both to, you know, get some additional speed, but also, more importantly, I think, to deny Primal Shack. Because if that Asher can get speed, it could spell disaster for them. Instead, Primal Shack is currently not really able to contribute much in this match unless Striker Kai gets the ball to them. Instead, it's Meme and Tragic that are left to rule. And once again, they're scoring points here. And with that Catalyst Quick Strike on Greatest Meme, they have no shortage of energy with which to send core flips in Assertive's face.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things is Mako's already bad enough just with her basic kit, but you throw in the core flips and the quick strikes, that just becomes even more brutal. Great core flip there from Striker Kai, saves his own life there, stuns the Octavia, gets the core as well, really nice ability usage, but doesn't get the barrier. We're going to see Assertive really running up here, and that's one of the big things that we've seen a lot is the goalies having to run up here to sort of settle the stalemate in the midfield. Molten Bolt misses, goes a little bit wide there. You hate to see it, especially with that Missile Prop pickup. We're going to see the red core going down. We're going to see Greatest Meme trying to get it back into this corner and is going to be able to do it with that Ensnare Drum. Gets the one barrier, so we're back down to the one barrier stalemate that we've seen so many times as both goalies are holding on for life, but a Crystal Thorns is going to be enough to secure the second barrier for Dragonbite. But Estelle goes down, paying in blood for that. Primal Shack not able to get kills with this Adrenaline Rush, so it's almost a wasted awakening. And we're going to see it just goes for another lap. Open goals again. Shotgun goes a little bit wide. The core flip is great. The strike is a little bit too early from Assertive there. You kind of just have to guess and hope you get it right. Read the enemy's mind if you can. But it's not enough.
And that fantastic series of dribbles there from Tragic in the early portion of that point earned them the stacks on stacks. Stacks on stacks is now online, and if the play continues like it has been, Tragic's not going to be losing those stacks anytime soon, but Mangoes will be losing barriers Primal Shack will manage to find a goal with the core flip, and Dragonbite are once again showing that they're not out of the game quite yet, even though Pass have been ruling over the early portion of the game.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of funny how often that has come up where Pass really loves taking those early leads. They're really good at it. It's really the question of, can Dragonbite come back? And so that just not like that though. The Mako getting a kill onto Asher there. And Snare Drum's a brutal ability on the offense against the barrier, but also against players. And that's 2 barriers going down now. Pass really taking the lead. This is the point for the set right here, if they can get it. We're seeing Striker Kai on that Estelle trying to put a little bit more distance on it. Molten Bolt is nice. Is it enough? The core flip is used, and Striker Kai a little bit too far up there, trying to cover the middle of the goal. But Greatest Meme managed to find the angle to the bottom of the goal there, and that's going to be another set over to Pass. Let's see what the draft is like.
Yeah, Octavia has plenty of stuff on the board still that she can take advantage of. Really, in this draft, I think that all she's eyeing is either Reptile Remedy or Explosive Entrance. I think that Reptile Remedy would be a smarter pickup, but actually opts for the Perfect Form here. I'm not entirely sure how much... I know that Octavia doesn't benefit a ton from Perfect Form, but I'm not entirely sure how much Drakkar benefits from it. Maybe that was a denial up against Assertive there. And then the rest of the draft is pretty unremarkable, honestly. There are more Mako primaries coming out, though, with that prime time. So you can be certain that the offensive pressure is not going to be dropping from Pass.
Yeah. Well, one of the big things about that Octavia Perfect Form is that you can use it to refresh the duration of your flow state. So if you have it down and you have your ultimate, you just get to freely use that and almost get your ability back up because of all the different hits on it. Great Rose Warp by Striker Kai there, saves the barrier. Was about a pixel away from being taken, but Tragic is able to get that, has that flow state stacked very nicely. And that's going to be the first goal scored here in what is potentially the last set of a best of 3. It's really on to Dragonbite now. This is it for them. If they lose this, there's no mathematical way. It is impossible for them to make playoffs unless somebody drops off the face of the earth. It is very difficult to do that if they do not win this set. So this is Dragonbite's last hurrah, or they have to drop out of the race. This is going to be the core flip. The core flip's traded, and it's going to be Primal Shack coming out of that with no core flip, just striking it. Great forward play here by Assertive here. Passing down to Striker Kai as well. Gets it over to Primal Shack, but he's too low. But he's alive for now. Shotgun not good enough. Asher dies off the side there, and Assertive is a little too far up, but they have the barrier advantage, so that's okay for now. They still have one more to trade, and now it's gone. The Snare Drum's really nicely played. And a great core flip as well. That's going to be 1 point away from Pass taking the series and getting a nice securement for their playoffs run here. It's not secured playoffs, but it is a whole lot easier to do it when you have that extra win under your belt.
Yeah, and as they are now on series point, let's talk about what Dragonbite can do to win. They almost got a point that last point, but there's a couple things that I think that they need in the recipe to make it happen. The first thing is they've got to stop dying. They can't die. Assertive nearly died again right there from the Octavia ult, but does manage to hang on by a thread. So they need to not die, and they need to win in the midfield, because currently Tragic is just running over them. This Octavia flow state is up, and this could spell the end. There we go. But they haven't won in the midfield, and Tragic rules the midfield, and there is a power play online right now. Greatest Meme has a core flip. Assertive manages to save it away with the lock and load, but it's only a matter of time before the core flip from Mangoes attempts to send it back up. It's blocked away from Striker Kai. The lock and load will defend against Meme's core flip. Dragonbite have hung on here, and they might be able to bring it back.
Yeah, it goes over to the other side of the field now. Tragic does not have the flow state right now. Possible angle for Dragonbite to come back. Greatest Meme hits it with the primary. Flow state's back up. This is important. And Greatest Meme sends it in along the bottom there. Beautifully done. Hard fought by Dragonbite there. Not an easy point to score there. There was an amazing sequence of saves there. Bit of a hiccup with Estelle actually rose warping it backwards, but it was actually a really nice setup in the end for Assertive to clear it out along the bottom. But in the end, they just didn't have that forward pressure there. Too many kills coming out. We had 7 KOs for the side of Pass and 0 for Dragonbite, when really for Dragonbite that needed to be flipped. Against a comp like that Octavia Mako, you need to have kill pressure, and when there's an Atlas behind them, you need to double it, because it's just so difficult to get it around Octavia and Mako, as we saw here. Hard fought, but unfortunately for Dragonbite, that is going to be their last hurrah. They will not be able to make playoffs, but Pass has a pretty good running shot of even making it to the winner's side.
Yeah, Pass played a fantastic game and a fantastic series there. Without a doubt, are one of the front runners for playoffs. I say one of the front runners. I think that they have a chance to push up into that front runners, like a very, very strong chance. What they showed today was some very unconventional comps that they were able to make work surprisingly well, especially on that Tycho game. Like Mako forward, Octavia midfield. Normally people would look at that and be like, I'm not so sure that you've put together a group of characters that can actually succeed on this map. But because the players are so familiar with the play style that they need to make those comps work, they were able to put some good plays on the field and snag the victory. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see even more victories down the road for their team and potentially put them up into those, maybe one of those top 4 playoff spots.
Yeah, it is really nice to see them. And again, it was a nice best of 3, a great best of 3 to cast. Like, good teams on both sides. You don't often see that reflected in scores like this. Of course, Dragonbite going into this was 1-6. And, if you just look at the numbers and you look at that, or sorry, 1-5, 1-6 now. You look at the numbers going into this, and it's a 1-5 team versus a 4-2 team, or sorry, a 3-3 team. And you are expecting it to be a stop. But it wasn't. In fact, we saw an early lead from Dragonbite. They took that first game, which made it go to 3 sets, and it was a really nice and hard-fought game by Dragonbite. So even though they're not making it to playoffs, I'd love to see them polish up, become more consistent, get a little bit better about noticing their win conditions going into some of these character drafts, knowing what they can and cannot get away with on some of these maps. But really looking forward to see a potential run in the next season, and I'm looking forward to see what Pass can do in the run with the rest of the season. But with that, any other final thoughts on this one?
No, I think that the best I can do is more or less echo what you just said. Both of these teams played fantastically, and even though that does spell the end of Dragonbite's shot at playoffs, I will not be surprised at all if we get to see their team come back in future seasons with vengeance and make some amazing, amazing accomplishments in future NASA seasons, and maybe even showing up in some of the higher leagues. Dragonbite Nassel Season 5. Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
I think that those were fantastic matches to cast. And I wish everybody in chat a wonderful day. Thanks for dropping by. We'll be back next week and the week after that with the closing weeks of our round robin series of NASA before we head into playoffs.
And with that, with a thank you to everyone, and a thank you to production as well for making this possible, and a thank you to the players playing in this tournament, of course, for giving us some amazing games. That's going to be where we send it off for today. Join us next week, and goodbye.